In 1988, a 9-year-old girl named Michaela Garecht rode her scooter to a small market in Hayward, California, with her best friend by her side. It was a crisp November morning, just before Thanksgiving, and the two girls were excited for a quick trip to grab some snacks. They left their scooters outside the Rainbow Market, unaware that a predator was watching. Moments later, Michaela was gone, snatched in broad daylight from a busy parking lot, her scooter left behind as the only clue. For over 3 decades, her disappearance haunted her family, her community, and investigators who chased thousands of leads across the country. How could a child vanish in plain sight? Who took her and why? And after 32 years, would justice finally come? This is the story of Michaela Garecht's abduction, a case that gripped the San Francisco Bay Area and left a legacy of heartbreak and hope. Michaela Joy Garecht was born on January 24, 1979, in California. By 1988, she was a bright, energetic 9-year-old with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a smile that could light up a room. She lived in Hayward, a working-class city in the East Bay, about 25 miles southeast of San Francisco. Hayward was a tight-knit community, the kind of place where kids could ride their bikes or scooters to the local market without much worry. Michaela was a typical kid, loved by her parents, Sharon and Rod, and known for her curious spirit and love of adventure. She was close to her best friend, Katrina, and the two often spent their weekends exploring their neighborhood together. Michaela was described as a dreamer, someone who loved to write poetry and had a vivid imagination. She was also cautious, taught by her parents to be aware of strangers. But on November 19, 1988, none of that caution could protect her from what was about to happen. It was a Saturday morning, and the air was cool and crisp. Michaela and Katrina, both 9, decided to ride their scooters to the Rainbow Market, a small grocery store at the corner of Mission Boulevard and Lafayette Avenue, just a short distance from their homes. The market was a familiar spot, a place where locals grabbed essentials and kids often stopped by for candy or sodas. The girls arrived around 10:15 a.m., parked their scooters near the store's entrance, and went inside to buy some snacks. They were in high spirits, chatting and laughing as they picked out their treats, sodas, and some candy. It was a quick trip, the kind they'd done countless times before, but when they stepped back outside, something was wrong. Michaela's scooter wasn't where they'd left it. The girls scanned the parking lot and spotted the scooter about 50 feet away, near a parked car in the far corner of the lot. It was strange. Someone must have moved it. Michaela, determined to retrieve her scooter, walked toward the car, a beat-up, older American sedan, possibly gold or tan, with a battered front bumper. Katrina stayed closer to the store, watching her friend. As Michaela reached for her scooter, a man emerged from the car. He was tall, about 6 feet, with shoulder-length dirty blonde hair and a pockmarked face. Before Michaela could react, he grabbed her, pulling her into the vehicle. Katrina, frozen in shock, watched as the car sped off with her best friend inside. It all happened in seconds. Michaela was gone. Katrina ran back into the Rainbow Market, screaming for help. A store clerk immediately called 911, and within minutes, Hayward police arrived at the scene. Katrina, though traumatized, provided a detailed description of the abductor. A white male, in his late teens or early 20s, slender, with fox-like blue eyes and a distinctive, pockmarked face. She described the car as a 4-door sedan, possibly brown or gold, with cement splatters on the sides and lights set into the rear bumper. It looked old and run down, like it had been in an accident. Police found Michaela's scooter exactly where Katrina said it was, and they collected it as evidence. A partial palm print and thumbprint were lifted from the scooter, a critical piece of evidence that would later prove pivotal. But in those early hours, the focus was on finding Michaela. The Hayward Police Department launched an immediate search. Sketches of the suspect, based on Katrina's description, were distributed across the San Francisco Bay Area within a cent, 24 hours. Missing person flyers with Michaela's photo, a smiling girl with blonde hair and feather-shaped earrings, blanketed the region. The community rallied, with volunteers joining the effort to search for the missing 9-year-old. Local news outlets covered the story relentlessly, and the case quickly gained national attention. It was a parent's worst nightmare, a child taken in broad daylight from a busy parking lot, with a witness but no immediate leads. The police followed up on every tip, no matter how small, but the trail was cold from the start. The abductor's car seemed to have vanished into thin air, and Michaela's whereabouts remained a mystery. In the days and weeks that followed, the investigation grew more complex. The police received thousands of tips. By 1994, they had followed up on over 15,000 leads. Some were promising, others dead ends. One early lead came from a store clerk who initially described the suspect as a man in his 30s with a mustache, driving a burgundy-colored car. This description was circulated in the media for nearly 2 days before it was revealed to be incorrect. The clerk had mistaken the suspect for someone else she'd seen in the parking lot, a costly error that sent police chasing the wrong person during the critical first 48 hours. Journalist Dennis Oliver later criticized the Hayward Police Department, saying, "The first opportunity and best opportunity to rescue this girl was immediately after it happened, and for 2 days they were looking for the wrong person." Despite the setback, investigators remained determined, combing through every piece of evidence and interviewing anyone who might have seen something that morning. Michaela's parents, Sharon and Rod, were devastated but refused to give up hope. Sharon, in particular, became a tireless advocate for her daughter. She tied yellow ribbons to a tree near the spot where Michaela was taken, a symbol of hope that became a yearly ritual on the anniversary of the abduction. The community joined her, adding new ribbons each year, a poignant reminder of Michaela's absence. Sharon also started a blog, Dear Michaela, where she wrote heartfelt letters to her daughter, expressing her love and her unwavering belief that Michaela might still be alive. In one entry, she wrote, "Hang in there, be strong, and never lose hope." The blog became a way for Sharon to cope with the unbearable uncertainty and to keep Michaela's story in the public eye. As the years passed, the case drew comparisons to other abductions in the Bay Area. In June 1988, just 5 months before Michaela's disappearance, 7-year-old Amber Swartz vanished from Pinole, a town about 20 miles from Hayward. In January 1989, 13-year-old Eileen Misheloff disappeared from Dublin, California, roughly 15 miles away. And in 1991, 4-year-old Amanda Campbell went missing from Fairfield. The proximity of these cases raised fears of a serial predator targeting young girls. One man, Timothy Bindner, emerged as a person of interest. Bindner, a local man with a peculiar interest in missing children cases, had inserted himself into the search for Amber Swartz, offering to help her family. His behavior raised red flags, and investigators noted that he was in the vicinity of the Rainbow Market on the day Michaela was taken. Bindner was also linked to the disappearances of Eileen Misheloff and Amanda Campbell, though he repeatedly denied any involvement. In 1997, forensic psychologist John Philpin published a book, Stalemate, a shocking, true story of child abduction and murder, detailing Bindner's strange involvement in these cases. Despite the suspicions, no concrete evidence tied him to Michaela's abduction, and he remained a person of interest rather than a formal suspect. Another lead surfaced in 1992 when a prison inmate named Roger Haggard claimed he had buried Michaela's body in a gladiolus field in Union City, about 10 miles from Hayward. The police took the claim seriously enough to fly Haggard to San Francisco to locate the site. After 8 hours of searching, Haggard admitted he had made it all up, a cruel hoax that earned him an additional 6.5 years on his sentence. The false lead was a crushing blow to Michaela's family, who had hoped for closure. Sharon later wrote about the emotional toll of such dead ends, saying, "Every false hope feels like losing her all over again." The case took a dramatic turn in 2009 with the reappearance of J.C. Dugard, an 11-year-old girl who had been kidnapped from Myers, California in 1991 and held captive for 18 years by Philip and Nancy Garrido. The similarities between JC's abduction and Michaela's were striking. Both girls were taken in broad daylight, thrown into a car in front of witnesses, and the Garridos' home in Antioch was less than an hour's drive from Hayward. Michaela's abduction had occurred just 3 months after Philip Garrido was released from prison for a previous rape and kidnapping conviction. Investigators interviewed the Garridos, and their car, a two-tone sedan, matched the general description of the vehicle used in Michaela's abduction. The media frenzy around JC's rescue brought renewed attention to Michaela's case, with profiles on Dateline, NBC, and Larry King Live. Sharon held on to hope that Michaela, like JC, might still be alive, possibly held captive somewhere. But no evidence linked the Garridos to Michaela, and the lead fizzled out. In 2012, another potential breakthrough emerged when Wesley Shermantine, one half of the notorious Speed Freak Killers duo, claimed that his accomplice. Lauren Herzog bore a striking resemblance to the police sketch of Michaela's abductor. Shermantine and Herzog were convicted of multiple murders in the 1980s and 1990s, and Herzog had committed suicide in 2012 while on parole. Shermantine directed police to an abandoned well in Linden, California, where he and Herzog had disposed of their victims. Excavations uncovered thousands of bone fragments, some initially thought to belong to Michaela. But DNA testing revealed they were the remains of 19-year-old Kimberly Billy, who had disappeared in 1984. Further searches in 2013 yielded no additional remains. In 2015, a detective working with attorney Mark Geragos filed a motion after learning that a pair of Mary Jane shoes, similar to those Michaela was wearing, had been found in one of the Linden wells. Frustratingly, the San Joaquin County Police refused to share the shoes or photographs with the Hayward Police Department, and the lead went nowhere. For decades, the case remained unsolved, a haunting mystery that gripped the Bay Area. The Hayward Police Department, led by Chief Investigator Inspector Robert Lampkin, never gave up. Lampkin declared, "We'll go anywhere, any corner of the earth to try to bring Michaela home." The FBI offered a $10,000 reward in 2019 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of her abductor. Michaela's case was featured twice on Unsolved Mysteries, in 1989 and 2002, keeping her story alive in the public consciousness. Her mother, Chi S. blog, and the annual ribbon-tying ceremonies at the Rainbow Market ensured that Michaela was never forgotten. But as the years turned into decades, hope began to fade for many, including Michaela's father, Rod, who expressed doubts that she was still alive. Sharon, however, clung to the possibility that her daughter might still be out there, waiting to be found. Then, in December 2020, a breakthrough came that no one saw coming. The Hayward Police Department, working with the FBI and the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, announced the arrest of 59-year-old David Emery Misch for Michaela's kidnapping and murder. Misch, a convicted killer already serving time for the 1989 murder of Margaret Ball in Hayward, was linked to Michaela's case through a partial palm print and thumbprint found on her scooter. Advances in forensic technology allowed investigators to match the prints to Misch, who had been a suspect in other crimes but had never before been connected to Michaela. Court documents revealed that Misch was in the area on the day of the abduction, visiting the chapel of the Chimes Cemetery across the street from the Rainbow Market to mark what would have been his deceased son's first birthday. 2 eyewitnesses also identified Misch in a double-blind photo lineup, placing him in the parking lot just before Michaela was taken. Misch was no stranger to violence. Born in Chicago in 1961, he moved to Santa Clara, California, as a child. His father was an abusive alcoholic, and Misch later said the trauma of his upbringing led him to lose interest in school and turn to crime. By the 1980s, he was a serial predator, convicted of raping and killing 2 women, Michelle Xavier and Jennifer Dewey, in Fremont in 1986. He was also suspected in other unsolved cases, but the evidence in Michaela's case was the strongest yet. The Alameda County District Attorney, Nancy O'Malley, filed charges against Misch with special circumstances, alleging that Michaela was killed during the course of a kidnapping. O'Malley called the crime horrific, noting that it had shocked not just Hayward but the entire nation. The announcement was bittersweet for Michaela's family. Sharon, who had spent 32 years hoping her daughter was alive, was forced to confront the likelihood that Michaela was gone. At a press conference, Hayward Police Chief Tony Chaplin read a statement from Sharon. "In the last year, I had to come to a place of accepting that Michaela was no longer alive. But somehow that acceptance was far more wrapped up in the idea of Michaela sitting on a fluffy pink cloud, walking streets of gold, dancing on grassy hills, and soaring among the stars. What I did not envision was my daughter as a dead child. It was only when I heard this news that this vision of reality appeared, and I honestly have not figured out what to do with it." She added that while she felt lost in the dark, she was glad there were answers. The thought of Michaela's fear and pain was overwhelming, but Sharon emphasized that the case was never about her own feelings. It was about Michaela. Misch's trial for Michaela's murder began in October 2024 and lasted 2 months. Prosecutors argued that the evidence, fingerprints, eyewitness accounts, and Misch's history of similar crimes was overwhelming. Misch's defense, however, insisted on his innocence, arguing that the lack of Michaela S. remains meant a murder could not be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. They also claimed the fingerprint evidence was circumstantial, as Misch could have touched the scooter at another time. The trial was emotionally charged, with Michaela's family and the Bay Area community watching closely. The prosecution sought to consolidate Misch's charges with his other murder cases, citing similarities in motive and execution, but the defense objected, arguing the cases should be tried separately. As of May 2025, Michaela's remains have not been found, leaving a painful void for her family. The Hayward Police Department and the FBI continue to seek information to locate her, urging anyone with tips to come forward. The case has left an indelible mark on the Bay Area, a reminder of the fragility of safety and the enduring power of a mother's love. Sharon Murch still ties ribbons to the tree outside the Rainbow Market every November 19th, a quiet act of remembrance for a daughter she refuses to let fade. Michaela's story is one of tragedy, but also of resilience, a community that never stopped searching, investigators who never gave up, and a family that held on to hope against all odds. If you have any information about Michaela Garecht's case, please contact the Hayward Police Department or the FBI. Even the smallest detail could help bring closure to her family. And if this story touched you, take a moment to reflect on the countless other missing children whose stories are still waiting to be told. Let's keep their names alive.